fundraising. They were working hard to get their banner done. They have a lot coming up, and we're just really making it through these 3 weeks in between for our next holiday break.
Sounds good. That's a lot going on right now. Any questions or comments? Yes, Armando.
Long blocks.
Oh, yes.
Any opinions on the long blocks and what you're hearing from your friends?
So we had a survey go out, and it's basically about the long block schedule. I've actually gotten comments from teachers recently. As they've been going through the year, they feel like they're getting less curriculum in, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because it's 1 day on, 1 day off, and they're not rushing as fast to get through the curriculum. But I've had a lot of complaints from the teachers. I'm not sure about if it's all of them, but personally mine. They're really trying to squeeze stuff in before the end of the year. We have mid-years coming up, and they feel like we don't have everything done. For students, I feel like it's more beneficial for students because we get flex blocks, and we also there's prep periods for some students, and that's a whole hour out of your day where you're just working on other classwork. So it's really helping the students. For teachers, though, it's kind of rocking the boat.
Follow up? If there's one thing you can change about the long blocks, what would that be?
If there's one thing I would change about the long blocks, I feel like what I would do is I would make long blocks, but I would have a way where you can have kind of like how we did short blocks. We had 2 days of the same rotation. I feel like I would do 2 days of the same rotation because it's beneficial for testing, because then you can use one class for prepping for the test and review and all that, and then say the next days when you're actually taking the test. It's really helpful for both. And also I feel like it's more productive because you're remembering the curriculum more. And I would also consider changing the flex block, because there is a lot of students who have free periods who need them, and I feel like those who really, really need them are you get them incorporated into your schedule. So although it's helpful and nice to get a break throughout the day, I feel like if it's really something you need, you can already get that in your schedule, and you could potentially add another class in that time spot and shorten the classes maybe by 10 to 15 minutes to find a space for an extra class.
Oh, excellent idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, lots of great feedback. Any other questions or comments for our representative? No? Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, through
Yes.
you to the membership, you are getting a written memo report from the survey results, plus focus groups that are currently taking place, plus some of the commentary from certain departments, leaders, and some of the questions they have. So that will be coming your way.
Great. Thank you. All right, moving on to superintendent update. Dr. Bayetta.
Yeah, thank you. Really quickly, I put a couple of things in your packet last minute, if you will. One of them, I just want to thank our colleagues at the Bridgewater Community for Civil Rights for thanking us for how we responded to that racist texting situation that took place. As you know, I also commented to you earlier about the Attorney General's office had reached out and also gave us some positives about how we handled and how they were available to us. The second piece of information that I've provided you today is the high school auditorium situation as it pertains to the Collins Center at UMass Boston report on ADA compliance. I just want to assure the committee that Stoughton Public Schools, its superintendent, its high school principal, its director of facilities had no idea this was taking place. So it happened on June 18th. We're looking and asking the questions. I received the entire 71-page report from a private citizen. Social media went off the rockers with it, and I'm providing you the information that was provided there. I will tell you that both with this issue and the issue of the stage that you have as a capital item, I have a meeting with DRA tomorrow. One, how does this building get opened up and only a few years later we're not ADA compliant? And two, the whole stage rigging situation, which there's a lot of opinions about around the word safety and so on and so forth, that I need some more information before you take your final vote. Just want to make sure that the public knew that, and you as the governing body. I'm not used to getting reports about the facilities I'm responsible for without being part of what is supposed to take place. I'll leave it at that, and then I'm sure down the road we'll get information. I know it's because it's a major public place, but I would argue that my 8 buildings are all public places, and at least 3 of them, the Gibbons, the Daw Middle School, and the high school, have held town meetings and other significant public settings. So.
Where did this come from again?
This comes from the Collins Center at UMass Boston, which was hired as a part of a Town of Stoughton ADA self-evaluation and audit.
Who hired them?
I do not know that.
Really? Okay, is it possible to contact them, the center, and ask them?
Yep.
Please.
I think for me, it would be helpful if we can get this to the elementary school building committee so that we are able to get ahead of anything that might just, learn from this. And as we're looking at a new building project, be able to learn from that and be proactive, knowing that that building isn't built yet. I think my other thought too is just around accessibility in general. And I think while there's some suggestions for things to be fixed here, and I think in the interim period, until we're able to make those fixes, what are the methods we can use to provide accessibility in these spaces, whether that's just alternate methods of accessing the space, or, and I know it was specifically drafted with town meeting in mind, so just would be curious to maybe work with the local, the Commission on Disabilities, maybe, for some ideas there. We can just be proactive about making sure everybody in the community can access our space.
Yeah, I can't speak to specifics because, and I'm not passing the buck, I just wasn't here, but as somebody who has renovated and built new buildings as superintendent, I'm a little shocked about this report.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that for now, and then come back to you with details.
No idea who took the pictures. The auditorium's empty, so someone had to have access to the auditorium to take these pictures.
Those are my questions. And that's all I have,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Any other comments or questions for the superintendent? Yes, Chris.
Through you to the superintendent, you had, when you talked initially about the anonymous text, that you would provide an update. I just wanted to know if you had an update for us.
We currently do not have an update from either the State Fusion Center, which is the one that's doing it. We will tell you that there was a lot of discussion about 10 days afterwards about a copycat situation, but I can't definitively tell you that. It was just that was the route that people were going. To that end, it's been quiet since then, maybe because of the responses that happened in the school districts locally. The higher education, Curry College, was found to also have undergone this with certain students. I will tell you that the biggest concern is that any type of technology that our students, adult, whoever, I mean, as you know, when you register for this stuff, your phone number is on there. And so with all of these situations that have happened nationally in the last, let's just say, 5 years with data crashes and all of the phishing that takes place, we just had our own phishing situation just the other day. I got one with a simple letter change in my name. So it's definitely happened. You have to be careful. And Anthony in our tech department is constantly sending out messages about reminding people if you don't know where it comes from. I don't know if lately you've noticed, but the uptick in text messages from places that you've like have no connection to, and just hit delete. That's the most responsive. If it's somebody who really wants you, they'll get to you. But no, I don't have anything else.
I would be particularly interested in learning how we can better protect our students of color. Specifically, I'm concerned about how they were explicitly targeted with that attack, and not sure how their specific phone numbers were accessed as opposed to just sending out a blanket something to all students.
And thank you for saying that, and thank you for the leadership on that. And I forgot to mention one thing. Under the direction of our outgoing state senator, Senator Timilty, I will be attending a cybersecurity workshop on the 20th of December in Quincy for municipal leaders and school officials. So I've already registered for that, and those will be the types of things that we're going to be talking about is, do we have better information on how this stuff is being accessed, yes or no? But thank you.
I mean, did they happen to be Stoughton school students? Or was the school targeted itself? I'm assuming the school wasn't targeted itself.
No, the target was individual student cell numbers and information. The question is how did someone target our children of color? How did that come to be the target audience?
Mm-hmm.
That's.
It wouldn't indicate an internal cybersecurity within the school.
No, it has
at
nothing to
all.
do, no, none at all, because the actual messages were received prior to the school day in terms of the location, so on and so forth. So this was definitely a target to an individual's cell numbers and information. The question is, how did they grab demographic information to make it so targeted?
And did it possibly come from hacking? Thank you. And did it possibly come from hacking into school data? Because school data will have demographic information linked to SACID and.
Right.
and
We know that our
contact
system was not hacked in terms of, the security system itself, but again, that's one of the reasons why we only do work with companies that sign off on the security system and breaches of student safety. We won't do business if they won't sign off on that language from the feds, which a lot of companies, believe it or not, won't until they find out that in Massachusetts, 99% of school systems won't do business with you. A perfect example was Go Guardian. Originally did not want to sign off on that, and then they found out that you're not going to end up doing business in Massachusetts, and then they did.
Anything else? All right. Yes.
Unrelated, but didn't want to forget. Dr. Bayetta, can you, is it possible to send out something about the homework policy to staff? It sounds like I've been hearing that there's a lot of homework being assigned not in accordance with the policy, and I just wanted to emphasize, we haven't revisited that policy. It is still in effect as it's written. So I just, if
You're talking to staff?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful just to clear that up. It
Yeah.
seems like there's some misconceptions about how that's being interpreted.
I'm happy to send that out. It'd be interesting to see that no administrator or the superintendent's getting that message.
Okay.
So but I'm happy to
Yeah, if you can maybe look into it, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know that I received some things from my own student's school that said per student council policy or per principal policy, and the homework policy is actually, most policies are actually school committee policy, so it's not an individual decision of a teacher or a grade or principal or a school council to change something like the homework policy. But if they have feedback for us, they can come to us.
Yeah, let's just, I guess I'm in one of those situations where I know where some of this stuff comes from, and to be quite honest, and my name's been utilized that I don't believe in the policy, and I think most of you know that I have some issues with the policy. But that said, we've stated it over and over again that we have a policy in place. If parents are having an issue with a certain teacher that's giving 300 pages of reading instead of 10 minutes, then they should be reaching out to the teacher and then reaching out to the building principal about it. But it's pretty well established, and it's typically coming out of certain age groups in certain departments.
I think that's helpful. I think if we can look for the trends and just make sure the communication's really clear. And I think your advice for parents who are concerned is very helpful. So for folks who are watching, that would be the process to follow.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to sorry. Yes.
Last year, we looked at the back of the scoreboard, and from what I remember, there was some work that still needed to be done. I was just wondering, when you get some time, of course, low on priority list, some status on whether that's complete and whether we can do anything about it.
I didn't put the scoreboard on there today, but I do have a list of facility stuff that's still outstanding that I want to close out with the school committee. I will add the scoreboard to that.
Okay.
My apologies.
All right, moving on to new business. We are tabling the multilingual English language learners program presentation until the 10th So I'm very sorry. I know that you prepared, but we wanted to make sure that she had plenty of time, and you have plenty of time to bring that program to us. We are a little short on time because we are looking at this select board meeting and the discussion of the South School project. This brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the Maria Julia Serpa Scholarship approval. We have a letter from the Stoughton High School principal, Ms. Miller, recommending the Maria Julia Serpa Memorial Scholarship in memory of a former Stoughton Public Schools bilingual teacher, Mrs. Serpa. This will be for descendants of Portuguese descent who are planning to pursue an education degree. Do we have any questions, comments, discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to table. I'd like to make a motion to table this until the next meeting to get a chance to take a look at this a little closer.
Okay. I know we have had similar, scholarships that are kind of focused or targeted, but if you would like, what would you like more information on, I guess is what.
So the scholarship looks very specific, and I had written down some of the things, my concerns, but if I can look on this right now, it's a one-time scholarship. It is for a Portuguese student getting a 3.0 or better on a 4.0 scale. It must be a student, it must be someone, a descendant of children who were students of Ms. Serpa. And to me, it seems like it's just very specific, overly specific than scholarships that I have seen, and I've seen many. I've even been involved in writing scholarships. So it seems like it's so small that it doesn't open it up to very many students in our schools at all. And although, excuse me, it is appreciated, I would like to see the scope, I would like to see one that actually addresses more students and gives them all more opportunities to apply. So when I look at scholarships, I like to see that, a number of students would be able to apply, and they'd have a nice group of students to choose from. This one seems very specific.
We've had some that are targeted. We had one set up that was specifically for the winners of one specific logo contest. So we have had ones that are basically given to with a designated student in mind. And there's some, these are dependent upon the whims of the donor, and often do have a certain population in mind that they want to help. I can look through more examples of ones that we've approved, but off the top of my head, I can think of several that were targeted. We had one that was specifically targeting children of a very narrow scope of employees of the Stoughton Public Schools districts, where it was probably going to have, a handful of students eligible at most. So some of them may just be people are looking to give it to some specific group of people or even a specific type of person, and some people aren't thinking that there's only so many people eligible and they just want to be in memory of someone who liked something, and so it's there. We have some that are targeted towards like Eagle Scouts, for example, where there's only like 1 or 2 Eagle Scouts eligible per year for that sort of scholarship. So I can look in for more information on similar scholarships.
Madam Chair, through you.
Yes.
So a couple of things. The authority of the school committee is to vote it up or vote it down. You don't have the authority to change it, so keep that in mind. That's 1. 2, next meeting next week is your final opportunity to vote on any scholarships for the upcoming year. So you table it next week, then it doesn't happen. So keep that in mind. We do have a number of scholarships that are specific. I do not have a child in Stoughton Public Schools, so I can't apply. I am a student of Mrs. Serpa. I'll go on the record so that you know. Beloved. The scholarships that we have go specifics to just students who attended a school. So you're at Stoughton High School and you had to go to the DAW. We have one who your family member must have worked in the food services department. We have Teachers Association. You have to be the child of a STA member. They're very specific. I would actually be more concerned if this was more than a 1 year, because the population attached to this would be that there would just be money standing there year after year after year because the students wouldn't be there. And I'll give you another example. I am a recipient of scholarships that are very specific from Stoughton Public Schools that no longer happen, to be quite honest, because I think the associations that used to do it just don't have that attachment to the school department anymore, which is very typical. And then, of course, we have a lot of them that are also attached to athletics. So, we can put together a packet of information and get it to you before the next meeting so that you have it and you can see the various ones that either this committee or prior committees have approved that have further details. As long as you please up it or down it next week, because that's the last opportunity you have for the year.
Any thoughts? Yes. Oh, Chris, sorry. Sorry, Chris has a question.
My concern is just whether or not students would know if they were descendants of former students of Mrs. Serpa. Not having been a product myself of Stoughton schools, but, I don't know that my kids would have known if I did go to Stoughton schools that they would be eligible or not eligible. So I'm just not sure how, do we create a list of all of the students Mrs. Serpa ever taught and then promote that so students can check to see if their parents' names are in the list? I share that concern there. It's just how would students self-identify?
I do want to note that's not a requirement that they are descendant, it's a preference.
Okay.
So it is not a requirement that they actually have had their parent or something, so, yes. Armando, question? Okay. Lindsay?
I think I would feel comfortable voting this tonight. I think it's consistent with other scholarships we have in Stoughton, as well as just other scholarships in the landscape. That said, I'm willing to wait to next week if we want to get those answers, but I just wanted to, I think it seems consistent with our other scholarships, and as always, want to extend gratitude to the folks who are putting this together and thinking of ways to support our students as they go on to their next chapter.
I agree with Lindsay. I'm happy to vote it tonight, but if the committee would like to wait, get more information, again, we can only vote up or down, and we do need to do that next week, so.
Madam Chair, just for clarity, you do have a motion on the table that needs to be seconded or not. If it's seconded, then you can take the vote on the motion. I just don't want to be accused that we didn't take up the motion of the member.
Yes, thank you. All right, is there a second to table this?
Second.
All right, so Chris has a second. All right, so this vote is on tabling this. So if you're voting yes, you're voting to table it. If you're voting no, you're voting to vote tonight. So, yes.
Can we specify in the motion that we're tabling it until the next meeting, or postponing?
Yeah,
What was it? What was the?
It's postponed.
We just did a session on this. It's postpone the vote until the next.
Postpone. Okay, postpone until the,
Are you open to that language change? Okay.
all right. So friendly amendment, motion to postpone until the next meeting, which would be the 10th.
Aye.
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 Wait.
We're motion to postpone until the 10th.
Oh, aye, okay, aye.
All right, so 5-0, motion to postpone this one until the 10th, at which point we will address it. Okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, just real quickly, can I just have Karen just reach out to you or any other member on the details that you're looking for information for next week, because it's a short week.
Okay. Yes, we're trying to put together the packet tomorrow, so, but if we need to email it, right before the meeting, we can do that. All right, the next one is the acceptance of donations of cubicles from Tracy Henry. This actually comes to us from Assistant Superintendent of Finance of Operations Heidi Perkins, who was able to secure a donation of approximately 20 cubicles, which have a value of about $1,500. And as per policy and state law, we have to review and accept public gifts before use. So any questions for Ms. Perkins on these cubicles? Oh, Karen?
Yeah, what are they going to be used for?
Yeah.
I mean, I know what cubicles are used for, but
Microphone.
where are we going to put them, where are they going to be used for?
I believe that we're going to sort of assess where they're going to go. We did talk about potentially in the SPED office upstairs. So while the getting was hot, let's just put it that way, we got them and they're stored here already. And a business had them and they had a price on them. And then when they found out it was a school that was interested, they gave them to us for no charge. So it was really good. So. But yes, we do need them for some offices, some spaces.
Armando, question? Oh, that was your question. All right. Great minds think alike. All right. If there are no other questions, can I have a motion to accept the donation of cubicles from Tracy Henry?
So moved.
All right. That was made by Armando. Second.
Second, with gratitude.
Seconded with gratitude by Lindsay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, 5-0. Thank you very much to Tracy Henry. Really appreciate that. Thank you to Ms. Perkins for the great deal that we got. Always helpful to have these sort of things. Next moves to unfinished business. We're going to kind of speed through a couple of things and then spend some time on some other things. Just noting that for the FY25 special town meeting articles, the special town meeting passed all 4 articles on November 20th. I'd like to thank town meeting for their continued support of the schools. And again, we'd like to thank the town's business office for finding funding from previously closed articles to cover our articles fully. Anything else about special town meeting? Less said, the better. No, it was fine. It was great. Thank you all for your support. The one thing that we would like to dig into tonight is the FY26 budget and town meeting articles draft. Do we want to do budget working group update first? I can hand it over to Lindsay and Armando to give us an update on the budget, and then we can dig into the articles if that's okay.
Yeah, so just a couple quick updates on the budget working group. We are working to put together a budget with a 3.8% increase. Just want to note that's not level service due to a couple things. So we have some shelter funded positions this year that are not part of the budget itself. So to roll those positions in if we needed would be in addition to that. We have increased enrollment. We have increased special education and English learner demands, and also contractual increases, including for the STA. So I think we are looking at not really adding FTEs and really just trying to keep as close to level service as possible. We're also looking at some triennial planning opportunities in terms of like the next 3 years. What can we scale up to as opposed to adding this year? Are there things that we can do in triennial planning, for example, in special education, that would help us save money long term? So that's like sort of a separate but parallel conversation. But we have asked Dr. Baeta to make some recommendations for what to prioritize and deprioritize in that budget. So we'll look at that at our next working group meeting, which is next Monday. Right, next Monday. So in the meantime, if you all have input, questions, sorry, I can't see any of your faces. But if you have like questions, input, would ask you to send that to Dr. Baeta. He'll get it to the working group and we can discuss in that conversation. I'll also throw out there, Ms. Perkins has put together, or Ms. Perkins' office has put together a new budget format, which is intended to show a little bit more transparency in terms of building level expenses. I think it's really interesting. I do think it's a huge shift from what we are used to and will require some adjusting and explaining. So just want to put out the preview there that that's going to be a little different, but it's not, it's just to make it more transparent, even though it's like a little difficult to follow for a year or two while the transition to the new format happens. So that is also for members of the public who are interested in looking at the budget. But just want to put that out there. So I think that's the update, right? Did I miss anything in terms of working group updates?
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, we're going to work very hard to get to what the committee and we foresee. There'll be a lot of discussion, I know that, and there's a lot of passion in this room about doing the right thing for kids, and I understand that. And you're all in this is the toughest time of the year for school committee, right? It's this between now and then the town meetings, and by town meetings I mean meetings, not just town meeting. I do think it's really, really important to just give a general update. So we know in the last few weeks that the governor has announced this move of 6 months through the shelter process. We also know as of today that they're looking to close the Stoughton shelters over the next 18 months. So what's happening now is we're at 104 students. Of course, this is subject to change, but this is just information provided, the latest. The situation now is we're down to 104 students, today up to 106. It's simple. It's as one shelter closes and people move, they're going in an in-between status for a few weeks or even a few months, then they move to their actual non-shelter housing situation. So we're going to have some ebb and flow going on. To the financial side, we don't know what that means in terms of the student comes in, are we still going to get the $104 for the 10 days the kid is here? Or will we get it from, we know we're going to get September to December 8th funding. After December 8th, we still don't know. The governor's office and the state legislature has not come to an agreement for anything starting on December 9th. I'm not sure that we're going to see the House and Senate come back in until after the holidays. I could be totally wrong. The swearing in ceremonies and all of that stuff will start taking place. There's some new bodies. Example, our new state senator is coming out of Milton as well. We want to do the reaching out and all of that stuff. Maybe something we could put on our school committee agenda. And then lastly, House One. House One will come out until 23rd, 24th of January is usually the ballpark. I'm not hearing anything about a delay. However, I am hearing that revenue is down. It's not unusual for me to hear a superintendent of schools in December that revenue is down. I'll just leave it at that, and then we'll figure out where the numbers are coming in terms of the Commonwealth. And then lastly, when you look at the capital needs and what we tried to target, I just want to be very careful that the high school stage area I am still working on. I am trying to get you answers before your public hearing, before next week. There's a lot of opinion on this issue, and if it's a safety issue, then so be it. But what has to be fixed and what should be fixed are two different discussions that I want to have. So we'll go from there. So I promise to get you as specific as details as I can, because I know this is an issue that's very dear to us as a school department based on the last year and a half to 2 years of this, if that makes any sense. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I do want to add to the House One numbers. So again, we're doing this 3.8% budget. The whole town budget is due at the end of December 31st, and then we will find out House One numbers, which includes our foundation budget, our required budget set by the state, as well as the state aids. So there will be plenty of discussions still to come. This budget we have to be able to live with, but it's not set in stone in some sense. So there'll still discussions to come through the next few months, but we will have a good idea of where things stand at the within the next couple of weeks. And I do want to add from the MASC that we're looking at the interest rates, which we've discussed very much this past year, coming in around 2%. So we are not expecting for the Chapter 70 funding. Inflation rate. The inflation rate being around 2%.
I was hoping that the interest rates would be at 2%.
That would be great, sorry. Thinking of something else.
I'm like, do you know something I don't know?
That lunch at Jerome.
Yeah. So that's that not expecting this huge windfall of Chapter 70 funding would be great. That'd be a surprise, but our estimates are probably going to be pretty conservative on what we are expecting for that.
I just wanted to add too, if I may, I may just add that the working group will continue to do its work into January and February, and we will be putting on a budget roadshow, if you will. I'll just call it that for now, where we take a few of us and like just welcome people in. Jeff Pickett and I are going to be talking about a show on the budget, just to take people through it. We'll put it up on the screen. We'll talk about what it means, what it doesn't mean. What I didn't want to start doing sooner than later is start to talk about massive layoffs and massive cuts to departments, all that. We're not even there yet. Let's slow this down. We have a mandate to get a budget in. We will do that, and then we'll take a look at prioritizations after that.
Questions? Chris, that was like a question.
Thought I pushed that darn thing. Through you to the superintendent, was just wondering if where we stand in terms of the October 1st student count, the enrollment count with the migrant students. That was a question this summer as to whether or not they would be counted in with that student population, how that might impact our Chapter 78.
Yeah, so we started the school year with 124 students, migrant students at the shelter. We know that 26 of those students have been with us since prior to October 1st, 2023. Those students were already counted because we didn't receive money from them at all as part of that process, if you will. So we know that number is minus that. So we're right at, let's just say 100. It's our understanding, we filed them as Chapter 70 numbers. We were allowed to, the SATS numbers were in there, the information is there, so on and so forth. What DESE decides to do with it, if they decide to change. Now, if they do decide to change it, they're going to be looking at they're changing their past practice. So there would be a lot of us that would have something to say about that. So for July 1, fiscal 26, those numbers potentially are associated with our overall Student Opportunity Act, Chapter 70. That's how we see it, that's how we reported it. Now it's a matter of do they accept it, so on and so forth. Keep in mind that October 1st has always been a deadline that we've been utilized. For example, if a student returns from the agricultural school back to Stoughton today, we don't get a penny of that money, right? It's just the game, the way the game works, right? We've been playing it for a long time. So we would make those same type of arguments. The second part that I think is important for us for this year really is what is the financials as we continue to have these students in our district. Overall, we're a plus 56 students. So just in my 2 fiscal years here, we're over 200 students. When you take the in and the out and the churn and so on and so forth. Our only area of drop which was predicted was the middle school, which is slightly down. Everybody else is roughly up or consistent. I'll have the NESDEC report for you as well, so you will have the actual enrollment report. You'll have the NESDEC report, which is the second time we've done the 10-year lookout, and you'll see that the numbers look pretty consistent.
Any other questions about the budget? I'd like to give members a chance to ask specifically about the articles. We have the 4 recommended. I'd like to thank you for the very focused needs this time around. It certainly, we have to be mindful of the fact that we did get some articles in this special town meeting. We're asking for new schools, so I appreciate that we're kind of, focusing on real needs this time around. It's unfortunate that we can't ask for the moon, but any questions about the one specifically here? We're going to get more information about the high school stage. Any other question? We've talked about the firewall before. I think we've had some discussion of the wireless access points and the redistricting study, noting that we should know by April, at the end of April, what we will be redistricting, if we're redistricting to modulars or if we're redistricting to a new consolidated elementary school in the south area.
Just through you, if in fact whatever happens to the project goes forward and it's voted positively, then there's a potential that you could withdraw this article at town meeting for at least another fiscal year.
Okay.
So there could be a positive there.
Can I just offer a clarification? This is going to sound nitpicky, and I apologize. But the justification for the redistricting consultant, I think the framing of whether we combine the South and Wilkins school buildings, I think we just need to be careful there because we're not actually proposing that we combine those 2 schools. It's just closing the 2 and replacing with 1. And
So it's the close of the south and the...
no, it's okay. I know it's like a super nitpicky linguistic thing, but I also think it's helpful for clarification so that folks are clear that because just knowing that that's been a point of confusion.
We'll word that to be more concise.
Thank you, especially as the materials go out in the packets and everything. Sorry, thank you.
for catching that. That was a good catch.
Any other questions, comments, concerns about that? All right, still more discussion to come. So again, if you have any questions, please let's direct them, I guess, to Dr. Bayeda for now. To bring. Okay.
Paste them, and then everybody will get them.
Okay, sounds good. Moving on to the next item, redistricting of all K through 5 elementary schools update. Just my regular meeting reminder, redistricting is redrawing the boundaries for who goes to what elementary school. We're redistricting regardless what happens to the South Elementary School due to increased enrollment. This will affect all schools. Just a quick update, the redistricting committee met on November 14th. The next meeting will be January 9th. We have some homework to review just redistricting plans from other communities. Chris, want to add anything about?
No, but I do want, there's one thing. One thing that I've noticed in public discussions around this and around the new elementary school building is the discussion of modulars. My concern is that the public may have the mistaken opinion that we would not have any modular buildings if the elementary school building goes forward. And I know with redistricting and the various populations at the elementary schools, that may not be an accurate assessment. And I want to make sure that we are transparent, especially before we start going into town meeting around a vote on the school building. So I did want to raise that point.
That's a good point. Thank you.
I think you just hit it out of the ballpark. That's a really important statement, and it's actually even gets a little deeper. It's actually a two-part, too, which is if our growth continues and we're 3.5 to 4 years out from opening a new school, we may need modulars in between there, even if it's just for short term.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else? Yes. That brings us to the modular classroom discussion. I don't think we have anything really for that, except for, to Chris's great point, that we have the information, and this is a much more nuanced discussion rather than just modulars or not modulars. So, yes, Chris.
Yeah, sorry, just one app. I know I pressed that damn button. Sorry, darn button. For all those kids watching out there. Once again, we're talking about, it's the cost of a modular building temporarily while we're waiting for a new building to be built is much smaller in terms of its on the budget as well as the impact on the school curriculum than it would be if it were considered a permanent solution to, trying to increase the capacity for outdated school buildings. So but I do think it's important that we're transparent that a new school building does not mean no modulars. But we do need to look at the costs. And I think that's something that we should be thinking about in both the redistricting committee as well as the school building committee.
Thank you. Anything else about that discussion? More to come on that. Elementary school building committee update. There was no meeting in November. There is one tentatively scheduled for December 11th. We haven't gotten confirmation of that. We will hopefully know by the next meeting. Next is the policy review. The policy working group has submitted 4 policies for our review. And would you like to introduce them at all? Or I know this is more our informational, and you're intending to follow our pattern.
Introducing our first policy. She's policy EHAA from the west side of Stoughton. She likes sorry.
It's only downhill from there. No. Do you want me to give the update? Or?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So Karen and I have been meeting, and then we've also been meeting with the assistant superintendent, and these are the first of 4 modest proposals for you. Policy EHAA is about the security relating to technology, district security, to the superintendent's points earlier. So aligned with that intention, there was a word change that we made where instead of saying the committee expects district staff, student, and family data to be protected, what was it, by modest or? Adequate controls, we changed the word adequate to robust. Just to set the tone for what we expect Stoughton to go above and beyond when it comes to protecting the private information for our staff and our students. The next policy EHB, highlighted, we added the word Massachusetts just for clarity around the public records law, that it's not federal, that it is state public records law. And then we wanted to add the phrase at the end, as dictated by the, and Assistant Superintendent was supposed to complete that, but as dictated by the state of Massachusetts is what that would read. Once again, just so folks know where this records law is coming from and that we are in compliance with state law. I believe there were no changes to policy GBEE, personal use of technology. It was all fairly straightforward, so we have no challenges or word changes there. And then lastly, for tonight's consideration is policy GBGE, domestic violence leave policy. And for those of you following along at home, I would like to remind you that you can access all of the school committee policies through the school committee webpage. There's a link there. It says policies. It'll take you directly to the book. And when I went there for the first time, suddenly all the GBGEs and the alphabet soup made sense because of how it's organized there. So, everyone always has access to the policies. We made a few edits here. Down toward the bottom, an employee shall satisfy this documentation requirement by providing any one of the following documents. It was to your employer or to employer. We specified that out and gave options, understanding that people who are experiencing domestic violence or were domestic violence survivors may have differing levels of trust with their immediate supervisor, their building administrator, or with central administration. So we want to make sure that they had options in case they felt more comfortable approaching someone with this deeply personal information than someone else. So we just wanted to provide some choice. And then Karen made the fabulous catch, don't laugh, it's true. Under 6, they talked about the need for a sworn statement. That in terms of, I'm trying to avoid reading the whole thing. Number 6, but a professional who assisted the employee, and the policy does clearly state that you could ask for leave for an immediate family member, but yet it was not reflected here in terms of the documentation. So we put that addition in. Any questions from our colleagues?
I have a quick clarifying question on GBEE.
Yes.
Which is personnel use of technology. Is this, there's no changes? Is it just that you reviewed it and thought it was fine, or is it that it's a new policy and therefore it's just as is?
We reviewed it and thought it was fine.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
It's a good question.
I have a question on, I forgot to push the button. The EHAA, robust controls commensuration with the sensitivity of the data. Should that be a verb instead of a noun there? Should it be commensurate or adjective? I was just confused by commensurate.
Yeah, I agree. That is a very odd use of that word. Yeah, it should be commensurate, I think.
Okay.
Yes, there
Sorry,
should be a verb form there.
Sometimes my former editor.
Yeah, no, so grateful for that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is, your intention is for us to review these and then discuss them at the next meeting and potentially vote on them. So if you could get those corrections. If we have questions on these, mindful of the fact that one of us emailing the two of you violates the OML, who should we directly questions or comments to? Should that be to Mr. Ford or should one of you?
Maybe to Mr. Ford would be easiest.
Okay. All right. So if we have questions or comments, let's address them to Mr. Ford, and he'll bring them to you guys. And just let me know as soon as possible so that we can get them in the packets for next time. But
Yep.
For next week, is that when you want them?
if possible, yes. I know that it's going to be a quick turnaround. Maybe Wednesday is very optimistic for getting the packet out, but maybe if we could do it by Thursday. Usually
Yeah.
Mr. Ford is very quick with
We
the turnaround.
meet on Thursday mornings.
Okay, perfect. We'll do
So.
it for that. All right, sounds great. The other matters, I have acceptance of minutes from the November 12th meeting. Does anybody have any amendments for our November 12th regular meeting?
I move that we approve the.
Yeah, I just,
Okay.
Yes.
does it usually say the meeting minutes of the Stoughton Committee, or does it usually say Stoughton School Committee?
Oh.
I don't know if it matters,
Yeah,
but
I think, all right, yep. I think
it matters, okay.
Let's get that in. No, that's not a bad thing. I think she had committee twice in there, so I think she overcorrected. Because I was looking at previous ones, and I was like, oops, we need to. So, all right.
Yeah.
That's a good catch.
And I had a question on page 4, last paragraph. I feel like there's a sentence missing there. Because we go from temporary modular classrooms have a lifespan of 10 years, and then Mr. Armando Barboza asked if Mr. Cavey and Mr. Inoki, thank you, from the town could be invited when visiting modular classrooms, but we did not discuss anywhere in there visiting modular classrooms.
I think the sentence that should be added should be Dr. Bayetta will schedule.
Mention, yeah.
Visits to other schools with modular classrooms.
Yep.
Other districts, let's say other districts.
Yeah,
All right,
that was it for me.
yes.
I do have one.
Sure.
On page 4, under budget working group update.
Sure.
The second sentence. So, with the increase in salaries and the projected increase in,
Okay.
not is, special education transportation, the budget, I want to replace that with the superintendent's first draft budget.
Okay.
Just to be abundantly clear that this is a draft. And then same change in the 5th line. It says the proposed budget, and I just want to say the superintendent's first draft budget
Okay.
for FY26, not 2025.
Okay.
Other than that, I think I'm good.
So we have those amendments. Any others? All right. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So move.
Oh, I got that to Lindsay and second to Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, 5-0, that's good. All right, the workshop minutes from the Stoughton School Committee. That is actually what we are supposed to do. I have checked with our lawyer that this is how the minutes go. Any corrections, amendments?
Pretty straightforward.
Yes, it was the easiest minutes I've ever had to do. So, all right, can I have a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
All right, made by Chris, second.
Second.
By Lindsay, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, that's carried 5-0. The next thing I would like to note is the Stoughton Equal Opportunity Committee, the SEOC expansion proposal. A select board member, Deborah Roberts, is proposing this expansion of the SEOC. She brought this to me pretty much as you see it last week, or the week before last. She is presenting this proposal, well, actually, she already presented this proposal to the select board earlier tonight. I was not, this is what I've seen, this is really the first that I've really had a chance to look with it, so you're learning about this with me. One of the proposed expansions is the addition of 4 appointees to be made by the school committee and for the SEOC to serve in an advisory role to the school committee. Currently, it is only involved with the town and only has members appointed by the select board. This is proposed town meeting article. Her intention with this is to make sure that this committee doesn't disappear at the whims of whoever's in elected office at that time. So she brought this to me. I'm bringing it to you. I'm going to be learning some more information, and I would welcome questions and comments for Select Person Roberts. If you have any right now, I'd be happy to take those. But if you have some that you think of, and I will have to watch the select board meeting since I can't obviously be there at this exact moment to find out what how the proposal went, and really what she's looking to do for this. But I welcome at this point any comments, but also invite you to take a look at this in more detail, and I will be looking for more information. This is going to be probably a discussion that continues for the next few months. Yes, Chris.
I also received this ahead of time.
Okay.
And I did send some comments to Deborah Roberts. I will forward them to you so that you are privy
Okay, great.
to them.
Anybody else have any thoughts at this time, this moment? Again,
No.
there's more to come, so please feel free to look at this and come to me with more. Correspondence, we received an invitation to march in the holiday parade of lights on Saturday, December 15th at 5 p.m. Please RSVP them at Pashon, the rec department. I know Armando is totally dependent upon the weather, and that's, I don't blame you at all. If it's cold, he's not going to be there. I have done it the past 2 years, and it's a lot of fun. Holiday attire is welcome, but not required. Like, the more blinking lights you have, the better, but totally not just so. If you are available and willing to do that, your families are invited to walk with you, or not. Mine choose not to, and they go home and leave me walking in the cold. So, totally up to you, but, all right, the invitation is there. We also have the invitation, I think Dr. Bader already mentioned, we also got invited to that cybersecurity seminar for municipal leaders on Friday, December 20th. I'm unable to make it at that time, but if you would like to join Dr. Bader, feel free, knock yourself out. But he is attending, at least on the district's behalf, so.
Where is that again?
It's in Quincy. I can look up exactly where it is, but it's from 10:30 to noon in Quincy on that date, so
Okay.
I will make sure that you have the information, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay. Anything else? One thing I would like to bring to your attention is we do have a meeting scheduled for the 10th. We are likely going to need one for the 17th as well to finish the budget. At this point, I'm looking at having the public hearing for the budget on the 17th, so that next week we can complete some things that we have on here, the presentation from the English Language Learners Department, our scholarship, a couple of other business items, and start to dig into some more information on the articles, like the stage, and also the budget, get some more details on the budget, and really start looking at that. So I know the budget working group will bring us that information, but looking at potentially just maybe we'll just talk about the budget on the 17th and have that be kind of our focus, because we may need to dig in. So like we did for the one discussion of the articles for special town meeting. So if there's nothing else, our next regular meeting is on the 10th here in the Common Chamber District's offices. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh.
Chris can have it.
Okay, I'll give it to Chris. Second.
Second.
Second by Lindsay. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right. Carried 5-0. This meeting is adjourned at 8:11. All right. Thank you all for coming, and good night. And we are going to.